The average wedding costs $30,000 and either ends in debt or divorce. Ours is going to be profitable. And yes, you can buy a ticket. I know this sounds absolutely wild, but hear me out, because most marriages start in the red. People will max out their credit cards and drain their savings for just one day. And then we wonder why financial strain is the #1 cause of conflict in a marriage, and I want to solve that problem. So I asked myself, why wouldn't we do it differently? Like, Steve and I were both entrepreneurs. We both have built movements and built audiences. We teach other people how to create leverage in their life. So why would our wedding be any different? We've got a sponsor deck, we've got a media plan, we are inviting our audience, our community, our business partners, and we are documenting the whole thing so that other couples don't have to start their marriage in panic mode. It used to take a village to create a wedding. Now we're just rebuilding the village with innovation. If that sounds crazy to you, it is, a little. But it's also genius. The same way that people used to look at Uber or Airbnb and think, what, that's so crazy to stay in a stranger's house, or what, I'm gonna get into a car with a stranger. I think that people are going to look at this in the same way, that it won't make sense, or people will think that it's so strange until it becomes the most obvious thing. So yeah, we are selling tickets to our wedding.
If you go to a wedding venue and they're like, oh, can we rent this place? They're like, yeah, it's like $1,000. And like, oh, we're getting married. Oh, I mean, it's 15 grand.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
they just
oh my gosh,
immediately 10x the price when you say the word wedding. There was one place in particular that we went to, beautiful place. Like, we drive by it all the time and thought that would be amazing to get married there. And in the quote, there was a $650 cake cutting fee, not including the cake, just to cut it.
You can cut it on your own. And I was like, this is so dumb.
And that's when I started to see red and see that this is a problem in the market. And entrepreneurs, what we do is we find problems and we solve it for profit, and we help people to be able to solve those problems with new and innovative ideas. I have this idea to then teach couples how to be able to monetize their wedding and bring it back to, it used to take a village. It used to be that the grandmothers would make food and the cousins would be the band, and bring it back to being about the couple and about the relationship and about setting themselves up for success. Wouldn't it be amazing if from their wedding they could, maybe make enough to go on a beautiful honeymoon or put a down payment on their house instead of going into debt, which financial constraint is the #1 cause of conflict in a marriage. So how are people starting their marriages this way?
Yeah.
We want to solve that problem, and our wedding is going to be the first case study. And I don't know about you, but I've actually thought about that my whole life. Like, imagine if people just sold tickets to their wedding. And when I started to mention to people, like, yeah, everyone has that thought. And I had friends that went, no, I've never thought of that before, but it's so crazy, it just might work. I started to make social media posts about it, sharing the cake cutting fee story. And people were also just as outraged with me and started sharing their stories about how expensive things were. Or, they invited all these people, but then last minute, some people weren't able to come, but yet they're still stuck with the cost of things. And I started talking about, like, it's just expensive. And again, it used to take a village. I want to bring back the village. And then so I started posting about, well, what if I sold tickets to my wedding? Haha, wouldn't that be hilarious? And people started to say, I would buy a ticket. Yes, please do that. And if you do that, will you then teach my daughter who's getting married? Or where were you when I was getting married? I would have loved to do something like this. And so the more that we joked about it, the more serious it became, the more real it became. And of course, there's some people that are like, what? That's crazy. Why would you do that? And to that I say, you don't have to buy a ticket. It's totally fine. Just like any other marketing product, there is a specific demographic who is a good customer and who is not interested in being a customer. And that's okay. If you try to market to everyone, you'll market to no one.
We really just wanted to have like a fun wedding just with friends and family. And then people were like, we want to come. We're like, yeah, this isn't meant to be something where we're going to walk away with retirement money. This is like, hey, help us cover the cost of it by paying for your own meal.
We are going to create the most incredible experience.
This isn't like you walk up to a chapel and they're like, hello, how are you? Like, this is more like a festival.
A wedding festival mixed with an Oscar red carpet. There's going to be a big stage and, the sparkles going up in the air. And we are currently working on some big name entertainment acts that you might know or recognize. And that's also, helps with being able to sell tickets, that we can be able to create an experience like that. One piece of feedback I got was like, why would you sell tickets? Isn't that a money grab? Listen, a money grab is when there's no value or experience provided in exchange for that money. And this is going to be an experience.
And so we're telling everyone, don't buy us a gift. Come pay the fee and then we can produce a cool experience that's very us.
The same way that anyone would pay for a night out, to go to dinner or go to a concert, we're creating that with this element of there's going to be so many fun surprises and delights. You know, for people that are entrepreneurial, it's also cool for them to hang out with other entrepreneurs of the way. It's not meant to be a networking event, but I think you're going to meet some pretty cool people here. Ever since we started talking about it, people are getting on board. They're like, how can I be a part of it? We have some vendors who are like really excited to do some brand integrations or sponsor or even just like be part of the promotion of it. And it's been so exciting.
There's always the 3% of early adopters that will see this and like me and love it and they get emotional and like, oh, I hated my wedding paying for it. It was terrible. I don't know what help you guys need, but I know I wanted to help you just because I believe in the cause.
There'll probably be cameras there filming and getting different people's experiences and stuff. So this is gonna be very unique.
So now what we're doing is we have a wait list for the wedding tickets because just like every wedding, there is a capacity. Although we are considering doing a virtual aspect because there has been demand for that. It's also a really interesting part of building a business and creating products is the best way to do that is by hearing from the audience what they want. For someone to say, yeah, I would buy a ticket to your wedding. How much would you expect to pay for that? It's crazy. We had some people that said $1,000. I was not expecting that. The tickets will not be $1,000. Or when they asked, will there be a virtual option? Maybe. Thanks for that feedback. Would love to know what you would want. We're documenting the whole thing so that we can then turn around and teach other couples how to do this. I think that there's 3 different ways for people to monetize their wedding. Number 1, they can just sell tickets to it. And I think it's very reasonable to say, even if it was $100 a ticket, someone would pay $100 for a night out. No big deal.
Yep.
$100 a ticket. And then the other problem that that solves is I had a friend of mine that she's like, I invited all these people to my wedding and a month before, so many of them dropped out, but I was still stuck with the bill for these, you know, meals that they didn't end up coming for. So it helps with that. If you have an audience, which I can also teach them how to, you know, be creating content because people are already documenting their way down the aisle. They become like micro influencers. They can do affiliates. They can also do brand integrations and sponsorships with companies because again, they're like micro influencers that they can kind of do some trades where they're talking about the products that they're using and getting it for free. My dream would be that one day people look back and go, wow, I can't believe how expensive weddings were that the only option was to pay out of pocket and go into debt. Of course, that's not the only option. You can have a smaller wedding, you can elope, but for people that want to do this is a great option. You get to put on an incredible event. I hope that this sparks an entrepreneurial bug in couples that maybe they want to go into business together or maybe gives them some other ideas to be innovative. Maybe this also helps them to make more money on their wedding so they can go on an amazing honeymoon or put down a down payment on a house. We will be documenting the whole thing. We're actually filming a docu-series about us as entrepreneurs building the capitalist pig movement and also documenting this path in building wedding funnels, paid for weddings, documenting the whole way from I do to revenue. So if you subscribe to this channel, you'll be able to see that. And if you also want to go check out weddingfunnels.com or crashthepartywithstephenmarley.com, you can see more of what we're doing and catch all the behind the scenes there.